Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. Welcome to this episode of Anhaaru. This episode is based on the topic, are the youth entitled or empowered? So, to nurture youth, a very important resource of the country, human capital, a very important component of human capital of the country. Do we not have to nurture them, to empower them? So this question is to be dealt with and expanded on with responses by two distinguished guests from Endeavour. One is Dr. Ibrahim Zakariyya and Mr, former Vice Chancellor of Maldives Islamic University. And we have Dr. Aly Shameem, currently Assistant Professor at the Maldives National University. Thank you very much for joining us. This important question of empowering youth, basically it's nurturing youth, entitled or empowered. So youth is a very, as it is said, youth is regarded as demographic dividend of a country, which is extremely important for the growth and development of the country. So how important is it as regards our traditions, our culture, our deen, religion, and as a nation? Dr. Zakariyya.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, thank you very much for having me. Let us at the very outset define what we mean by entitlement and empowerment. Now, entitlement means that one feels that he or she deserves success and respect or resources, and he is eligible to a certain status without having much effort. This is what we mean by entitlement. And whereas empowerment means believing that youth can achieve success and make a difference through hard work, through their effort. Out of their effort, they are expecting some result. Whereas in case of entitlement, without any effort, just being for example, a Maldivian, or being belonging to a certain family, the youth thinks that he is eligible. Now the question arises, why these kind of feelings are coming up on and off, especially among the contemporary youth in our society. It perhaps, although there may be different factors related to it, but one of the factor that I perceive or think of is that how we bring up our children. Are we bringing our children according to the guidelines given by our traditions, and do we have high objectives that to achieve through upbringing our children? So these are the factors that our parenting style should be questioned. How these youth are developing and thinking of that they are entitled without having any doing any effort.
So this empowerment is compromised when this mindset takes root in the parents' thinking, when, or in the thinking of the youth,
Exactly.
that they are entitled
Yeah.
and they deserve things when they actually don't. Dr. Shameem, you have been a youth trainer and advocate. You have been for a long time into advocacy of youth empowerment and volunteerism. So we have this problem of overprotection of youth and so-called helicopter parenting. They are overly supervised and overly guided so that they lack the opportunity to take their own initiatives and to drive themselves to the goals they want to achieve. So what do you think of this approach and how do we counter them?
Yeah, thank you very much again for having me in the program, and the topic certainly is very relevant and it's a pressing topic rather. Before I go into parental coaching or approach in grooming children, I would also join Dr. Zakariyya to say a few comments on entitlement and empowerment. I find that these words are politically charged words now. Oftentimes when governments in the election, trying to win election, they used to attract, in order to attract the youth, they often talk of empowerment. And then some would say, we would say, if I may say in Divehi, Mihe Zwanunna. Haggumi Marke, exactly.
This is the level of degree of entitlement that we deserve.
Exactly. So in the competition or in the campaign, the parties go probably out of their way to win the hearts of the youth, and then youths are misled. Empowerment does not mean only providing what they require from the state and others. Rather, it means a conducive environment for youth themselves to make efforts and capitalize on the opportunities available. It doesn't mean entitlements as they simply be waiting and with high expectations. And no, oftentimes we are comparing our youth also reading same social media, say messages and the our youth look at Europe or North America or Australia, comparing to see what their youth are being provided with. It's like unemployment benefit if you are without a job for youth, and there are other provisions like when you get married, you are entitled to get an apartment, but you have to pay the apartment. You have to be earning something in order to meet the criteria. Of course, there are social benefits in Australia or New Zealand too that they provide. Now, countries like New Zealand, which is one of the cleanest country in terms of government corruption, 40% are taxed. It's a quite welfare societies. Mostly Nordic countries in Europe, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, they are highly taxing the working population. And the benefit goes to, of course, vulnerable groups. But youths are supposed to be the best asset of any country. And if they must be guided properly, we cannot compare with Australia and Maldives, but oftentimes what they read and see are the news and the kind of affluent life that these societies have. And then compared to the Maldives, whereas we were only graduated from least developed country list of the UN in 2011, and this is 2025. Just a decade or so, we have passed as developing country. And so the responsible campaigning is very important by political parties as well. So the youth will not be misled. And according to some statistics that I got, 19% of our youth population today are unemployed. This is a very
19 or 90?
19%. And a total number in figures is 10,414. Currently, 10,414 youth between the age of 15 to 24. Now, according to UN definition, they consider youth 15 to 24. But in Maldives, we have a larger bracket than that. That is from 18 to 34. Maldives youths are considered to be. So now, if I could reflect back some of my past, I was one of the youth who joined the very first youth center that was established by the government. In 1985, happened to be the first international year of youth observed all throughout the world. So Maldives also had prepared for it, and in order to mark this important year for youth center was established. The youth council, advisory council, was constituted by President Mohammad Abdul Qayyum at that time. So I was almost in my final year at those days it was called Science Education Center. Now it is CHSE. So I was one person, and our Islamic philosophy teacher or lecturer at that time was Dr. Muhammad Zahir Hussain, who happened to be the Minister of Education at the time. And the portfolio of the youth was given to Ministry of Education. And he had...
So youth center came under the purview of Ministry of Education.
Education, exactly. So then Dr. Muhammad Zahir Hussain requested some of his students to join youth center to activate some functions there. And I was one person, and a couple of students joined as members of the youth center. And then they were looking at constituting youth activities committee, letting youth to take charge of their the kind of activities they want to organize, plan and organize.
So what was the focus of those aspirations
this
of
is
the youth
what
at that time?
I'm coming to explain the empowerment at that time.
Right.
And I happened, so youth activities committee, there were some positions created, including the chairperson or the president of the youth activities committee. So there was campaigning, and this was announced. Those who were interested to stand for election of the positions were opened, and I was one person who applied, and I was successful to win as the first president of the youth activities committee.
By election?
By election. It was by election, yes. And those days, of course, we were planning everything, but there are officers, two senior officers at our youth center. One was the current ambassador of Maldives to Sri Lanka. Ambassador Masood Ahmad was as administrator, who was in charge of administering the youth center. So this youth, we were given a lot of opportunities in the sense that you plan and organize things ourselves. But the government was guiding, and there was the first chairperson of the Youth Advisory Council was by then the Minister of Foreign Affairs, late Mr. Fatullah Jamil, and quite I would say high-profiled advisors sat on the committee. Then later, the youth committee chair and others was included.
So it was a very unique moment in the history of the youth in the Maldives, and it was a turning point kind of, because that was quite visibly government started empowering the youth.
Exactly.
And
that is
opening the opportunity for the youth to run for elections and get appointed and to discharge responsibilities.
right.
So they became part of the national development.
Of course.
which was wonderful. Coming to our Islamic traditions.
About the parent helicopter parenting.
Right.
That was the question asked me. Let me give my views on the helicopter parenting, which normally is international terminology now used, as Zubair rightly mentioned, overprotecting the youths. This is happening usually, the books written about, say, there was this international bestseller called Tiger Mom. Tiger is referred to Chinese moms. Chinese moms are very cautious, very overprotective. When their children, they are raised overseas, like in New York, New Zealand, or in Australia. Actually, according to statistics, there is every 2 years, I think, there is an international exam, secondary education exam held, and the country that tops in the list as best performers are mostly China, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, and
Helicopter
European,
parenters.
Yes, exactly. And the Europeans are far behind. In the last, if I could remember correctly, I think US fell to 27th position in many of the categories like science, maths. There are subjects that they have international exam. So, and in New York, there was this professor who was from Columbia University professor who wrote Tiger Mom. I forgot her name. She was, I think, a Chinese descent professor who wrote this book. Chinese, they have a belief that in countries like open and countries like USA, where every weekend students, university students, they have parties.
Right.
And they go out of their way, but these so-called tiger moms,
right,
who have this helicopter parenting, who watch their children very well and guide them, they perform very well in schools.
So it was. It helps the psychological health of the children when they are they are protected, well protected. We'll pick right from there when we return to you. Coming to Islamic traditions, we have seen quite groundbreaking and quite revolutionary changes in the empowerment of youth, especially with the advent of the Prophet and his traditions. For example, some of the very famous names in Islamic traditions are, some of the few names are Musab bin Umair, for example, the first ambassador of Maldives. First ambassador of Muslims. Sorry. First ambassador of Muslims sent to Medina. That's right.
Yeah.
First ambassador of Muslims to Medina. He was in his teens, and then later on, Usama bin Zaid, a very young man.
And Zaid bin Harisa,
and also later on Muhammad bin Qasim.
Yeah.
And Tariq bin Ziyad.
Yeah,
they were famous world leaders who carried out revolutionary missions that cataclysmically changed continents.
Exactly.
So that was done by these teens because they were trusted, trained, and empowered, and they were given a mission and they carried out the mission.
Yeah.
So what do you say about these things? How do we relate those experiences to?
All these results have been achieved. Why? The question is why it's been achieved.
Yes.
Because Islam starts educating and guiding and training their followers not at the age of a certain age, from the very beginning. Even while they are supposed to be parents, before they get any child, they are the question that poses in front of those who are supposed to be married is, are you going to bear the full responsibility of parents? And this, when we talk about responsibility, each and every parent of that time and even now, who are very concerned of raising their children according to the traditions prescribed and introduced by our religion. They are very concerned about their children, inculcating very basic, important factors, namely responsibilities and honesty. Honesty and responsibility come through our faith, through our aqidah.
So these are defining characteristics.
Yeah, exactly. And that is why, our Prophet, peace be upon him, said about, that is the statement written in the history about Mus'ab bin Umair. What about this statement? Look at this person. Look at this person who has been raised as a very spoiled child.
Very princely kind of.
Or a princely kind of person in a very rich environment. His parents are very rich, wealthy people. And look at this person pointing at Mus'ab bin Umair, how he has been living in a very posh life, and all of a sudden he left all that posh life and came to the fold of Islam and started carrying forward the mission of Islam, leaving all his posh life. What sort of change that brought to him through the sense of responsibility and through the responsibility of the trustworthiness that has been inculcated in them by educating them. That is why our Prophet, peace be upon him, very clearly said, Lord Almighty educated me and made my education perfect. What does it mean? We are educating our children, but we are not accomplishing the process of education. That is why the question comes whether we are preparing our faith in order to shoulder those responsibilities, and are they trustful? They can be trusted on them in order to take their mission of their life forward.
It was amazing that he laid the groundwork in Medina for the prophet to migrate, and so he prepared the community for a warm reception, which was amazing. We have a very interesting question to Dr. Shameem, but we'll take a break. We'll take a break and we'll be right back after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Dr. Shameem, picking up from where you left about the helicopter parenting plus the extra pressure on the young people to be certified, to be qualified, to be upskilled, to keep up with the demand of the times, the market, the competitive market, competitive skills, or to survive in the competitiveness that is prevalent today. What are your suggestions and thoughts? How do you expand on these ideas?
Let me also just draw a parallel example for what Dr. Zakariyya has explained at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the young followers who are listening to them. Likewise, we can draw some examples where some of our leaders who have demonstrated very good responsibility. For example, Muhammad Amin Didi, the first president of our republic, he became the Minister of Trade, Wazaratul Tijara, I think, when he was at the age of 21, when the first constitution of the Maldives was proclaimed in 1932, he was made a minister, 21 years old. Then the youngest high-profile position held by a Maldivian was late Hussein Salahuddin, His Eminence, great scholar of Maldives. Hussein Salahuddin, when he became Chief Justice, he was 18 years old, according to information I received. So they have wonderfully served this country. And so they were youth and who were educated at the time of their life. It was the education. We didn't have establishments or schools and colleges like today, but all the I think even other ministers. There are a number of ministers who were appointed after a proclamation or annexation of for the first constitution, the codified or written constitution of Maldives. So we see a team very young, but taking responsibility, and they were trying to help run the government. Now, even the current government, I observe that there are a lot of young officers who are at the rank of deputy ministers below 35 years of age. So I would think that we also have large amount of responsible youth who care for their family as well as for their country. What is lacking here is there are a number of what they call disoriented youth as well, who are demanding, or they are always mindful of their rights rather than looking at their responsibilities. Without making much efforts, they wanted everything to be provided, as if, some students, like in social sciences, we see some students having a kind of a free ride, with due respect to all those who are working hard, but there are quite a substantial amount of youth or students who are looking at earning a certificate rather than knowledge. Now, knowledge comprises of about 6 factors. Education is number 1, but knowledge also can be gained from information, from experience, and part of the knowledge is discipline as well. And so obeying rules of the society and the country. And of course in Islam we 24 hours we have been watched, we have been to obey certain commandments from God and the professors of Prophet. So but some youth keep forgetting, because they are disoriented, that they get so much of information of other countries where their backgrounds are quite different from Muslim country, definitely. Unfortunately, today there are very few countries, even our youth, when we talk about Islam and way of life for Muslims, we don't have good examples to show. Most of the Muslim countries, for example, we talk about Dubai today, but Saudi Arabia is, of course, we all respect as is the birthplace of Prophet ﷺ. But what is the role Saudi playing? So that's most of the students read about Europe and America rather than our Muslim countries, because they are Muslim international community, with due respect for all the Muslim countries, but we have been secondary to the Western communities. For some reason, the Islamic, probably the heydays has gone, and so it is the West that has come up with a lot of inventions and discoveries, and also advancement of their life or civilization or development. Our students, when we give examples, it is very hard to satisfy their queries. They have all kinds of queries about, Islamic way of life, and then we see, okay, sometimes they compare, say, New Zealand. The people living in New Zealand practice more Islamic way of life than the real Muslims in other parts of the world.
So there's more inculcation of good discipline,
Exactly.
values in these societies.
Exactly.
And also they try to wean the youth away from this entitled mindset, which is very detrimental to their outlook towards life. So what do you say, Dr. Zakariyya, about mentorship? Youth, youth happens to be in very closely knit peer groups very often, and if they are detached from them, then there are parents for them to look up to, and then get advice and to learn standards of life from the parents. But how about mentorship, the right mentorship for the youth? Are they not supposed to associate themselves with their exemplary teachers, exemplary figures in the business community, exemplary figures in the social dynamics, in the social activities, or in various socio-economic enterprise, people who are worthy of looking up to them?
Yeah, exactly. As we all know, and we have experienced in our own life, that showing good example has a very tremendous effect on developing the wholesome of the life of a child. Now, sometimes our parents make a very huge mistake, unknowingly perhaps, that commanding them to do this or refrain from that. The kind of practical theories that they apply. We have been talking about helicopter parenting. This same theory that we call parental command theory, in which they used to command their children rather than showing them or being good mentors in practical life, how it has to be implemented. Now, going back to our Prophet's method of educating and bringing up our good ummah, what he has done is very clear, that shown good examples in every aspect of his life. As that's why we, in a short sentence, we say that Prophet, peace be upon him, is a living example, and this is how practically we Muslims should be exercising in our day-to-day life, whether in our family life. Of course, the family life should be the cornerstone of the first and most important way of starting the children's mentorship and showing the good examples. And for that, most of the parents expect from their children to be honest and to be responsible. Now, expecting honesty and responsibility will never bring any result or fruit unless they practically try to inculcate in them those qualities that they are expecting through showing good examples and being the mentor. Now, if any parent shows that this kind of mentorship, whereby their children very proudly say that our father, our mother, they are our mentors. Through them, we have been following their footsteps, where we have grown up as responsible and honesty people. Then I would say those parents are very successful and deserve to be happy.
Yeah, practical, they have to be given practical experience of discipline rather than advice and exhortation.
Exactly.
Exhortation doesn't help much.
That is why, when we are talking about raising our children, normally we talk about two kind of theories. One theory we call it parental command theory. The other theory is moral objectivism, where when we guide our children, they should on the spot should know why their parents are guiding towards that end, what are the outcomes and what are the consequences if they follow or if they didn't follow.
Why they are doing what they are doing.
Why they are
so
doing
they
what
should
they
have
are
the value of what they are doing.
Exactly.
To have an in-depth understanding of why they are doing what they are doing.
Moral objectivity should be highlighted more than forcing on them or being overwatched each and every moment, because once we get that satisfaction that our children are responsible and they we can rely on them.
Right.
If any parent who get that satisfaction that I can be rely on my children and they are very responsible, believe me, they are the good citizens and they are the people who are going to lead the nation.
So they become strong characters, predictable, and with a firm footing on discipline.
So therefore,
Yeah.
it demonstrates that in the Maldives, first we have to start from our parents or people who are already in senior age, to show what he call as they become as what he call example leaders. Let me draw some lessons from the so-called first drug-free country in the world, which is Iceland. And one of the success story in making that youth protected from drug abuse was that every youth has been attached to a mentor. And the neighborhood, there are people who are in culture, veteran, with people who are looked upon as respectful figures, are being requested that they do help mentoring some of the youth, and they are given some kind of responsibility that once these youths have been assigned to you, you should keep a watchful eye on them, guide them. And today, because of the mentoring, they are being very well guided by the mentors. Similarly, you look at Singapore. Singapore had what they call community organizations. Every weekend, the people, most of the people, Singapore is a city-state, right? And they have tall skyscrapers all over the city. But all those residents in the apartment, they come down on weekends and they mingle with the community, and there are a lot of various kind of activities are held to engage youth, and they also help senior citizens. They all come out. There are every I don't know how they have been divided into neighborhoods. Every neighborhood, if there are 15,000 people, there is what they call social center or community center, which organizes under citizens groups. There are citizens organizations which have been administered officially by the, I think, Ministry of Welfare or Youth. And this is a very effective method, keeping everyone in the society.
For the generational awareness and avoid the gap, bridge the gap.
Exactly. And so there is 3 days back I was attending a conference in Chengdu, China, at Sichuan University. I was quite impressed with the students. Students who are guiding us, postgraduate students were our protocol officers. And the kind of behavior we observe within our conference venue, they are very respectable. When the professors are around, lecturers are around, they don't talk loud. And extremely, we found that these are quite advanced now cities in China.
Yeah.
And you see, when you advance, that means you don't have to become indisciplined, or you think it is my democratic right that I started making demands and no respect for others. No, that is not how the youths are groomed in places like China. For example, even Japan, it is similar. The students are very, very obedient, meaning that it doesn't mean that they have been mind washed.
Very respectful to the elders, very mindful of their responsibilities, well-mannered,
right.
And they know that they are, they know their limits.
Exactly.
What is off limit to them, what is within their reach.
Right.
So these are very important values we should have in our young people.
Yeah.
We are coming to a close almost, so I would like you to make a brief comment on the challenge of certification issues, the qualification issues, and are we not overly obsessed with it just to possess a certificate, any certificate, and for the sake of it we seem to be seeking it at universities and at higher education institutions. So there is a mass scrambling for certificates nowadays, rather than scrambling to acquire knowledge with its breadth and depth.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about this?
Before I just answer or reply to what you have mentioned, let me just indicate what Dr. Shameem mentioned about the qualities he found in some societies,
Chinese young people.
Chinese.
And Japan.
Actually, these are the qualities and attributes that we are talking about are not very strange to our Muslim history. We Muslims have been exercising those kind of good qualities in our Muslim societies. Now you look at the Medina, the community of Medina, how they have raised from a zero ground among a community where they, whom they don't have a single penny. How they have come up and became a very strong society through the collaboration and cooperation, and through having those kind of mentorship being exercised.
The pivot of today's civilization, in fact, emerged from Medina.
Unfortunately, today we Muslims are far behind. If I'm not mistaken, to exercise all those qualities. Now, coming back to the certificate issue, yes, actually we have a sickness of getting those of getting those certificates, even though we don't have any kind of skills that can be applied to our future life. That is why we are sitting behind, just waiting for a job to be offered, rather than having a kind of quality that can be used for our life to be developed in a very promising way. It is something related to our way of educating our children and our way of thinking that has been prolonged to be addressed in order to eradicate this mindset of having that sickness to get a so-called certificate. Now, if you see our perhaps most of the students who are coming out of these universities, from various universities, are they have that quality to start a business, to stand up on their feet in order to move forward, or rather they are just waiting to be offered a job, because as we all know, income will get only two ways, either through a job or through a business. Now, if you are just waiting for a job, you are going to be a slave for all your life, right? So this is kind of aspect that the educators should be focusing on to change the mindset of the whole stakeholders in order to have a solution for this problem.
So to enable them to become independent people financially as well. Dr. Shameem, what are your thoughts, and how would you weigh into the kind of soft skills the young people, the youth should have, and what are they lacking, and why are they lacking what they are lacking?
Yeah, certainly I think we at somewhere at a government policy making stage somewhere there has been some mistakes made perhaps. When Majidiyya school was established, President Amin Didi, he wrote a book called Hardana Akhlaq Libigannani Kihina Kunta. Then the very first book published by His Eminence Muhammad Jamil Didi, later Muhammad Jamil Didi, was Durushul Akhlaq, the very first book he wrote. And these were books used to teach students in Majidiyya, and there was a subject called Akhlaq. So today, then, of course, when our school system was changed to English medium by President Nasir, he introduced a lot of subjects and started medium instruction in English. And when so many science and other subjects were introduced, they slowly took away akhlaq, and the period of Islam was reduced. And when I was in school, grade 2, up to 2, we had a Quran teacher. We studied Quran as subject. But from grade 3 onwards, no Quran. Quran is supposed to be studied at home. But Islam, we continued even grade 11, 12 as CHSC. Dr. Muhammad Zarsen came, but it was not called Islam subject, but it's called Islamic philosophy. He was teaching, but it continued. But we had only 2 periods per week during our time.
We apparently went on an overdrive to anglicize ourselves.
Exactly, it could be because in Japan, for example, even today up to grade 12, the curriculums focuses 40% of the curriculum is non-cognitive learning, which is what you call soft skills, life skills. They teach up to grade 12 what are respect, the family values, their own societal values, and so 40% is non-cognitive learning about teaching life skills or soft skills. Now, and 60% is cognitive learning, which is science and other subjects. Here in the case of Maldives, I don't know how much is in the curriculum now, which you call non-cognitive learning, or what you call soft skills. A lot of activities, curricular activities are conducted or held in schools, like clubs, associations. Of course, they do have some activities, but how much they're learning soft skills like leadership, teamship, tolerance, how can you treat your friend after, or your classmate after competing in a competition. Somebody, of course, will win first place, second place, third place.
How to deal with defeat and victory.
Exactly. These are
Situations.
what we require for our youth today is a very good guidance and inculcating what Dr. Zakariyya said previously, a good mindset. Then along with
Absolutely.
comes skill set as well. So our curriculum, actually we need to train our teachers and lecturers. But this government is paying a lot of attention or emphasizes on nationalism, Maldivian nationalism, which is good. But how much impact has it made now? We don't know. Maybe it first has to be trained teachers. Explain them what nationalism and our values are. And somewhere we have to begin now, because the students have been overloaded. They talk about, their backpack, or the students' school bags are full of various kinds of books, and there are so many subjects. I think we have to seriously think. I think it was 2014 government revised the school curriculum. Since then, I think looking at what result is it producing, as I said, there is a need, I think, to look into overhauling, reviewing our curriculum, and especially the teachers themselves. They are the first mentors, then lecturers the mentors, and in your family, uncle and aunties are mentors, but are they ready to listen? The current young generations are totally disoriented with social media. They spend hours with watching TikTok or Facebook, and so we are becoming end users. All these, all kinds of these ITC gadgets are produced by developed country, and keeping our children, developing country children, kind of addicted to what I call now mobile phobia or something. It's a craze that's going on, which is, unfortunately, they don't have time to be with the families, and so we are so kind of revolutionary change is occurring, and it's our authorities, our senior citizens, those I call, Bodechetti Huriham, Boduse Membrego, Kudise Membrek, Ngigigen, Namona Daka. We had become examples, and we ourselves has to reset our mindset.
You have to go for a reset. Very good word.
When you talk about mentorship, you just can't claim yourself, I'm a mentor, unless you have something to offer.
Absolutely.
If you don't have anything to offer, why you can it's a name that you are claiming of, without having any sort of input in it.
So let us be ourselves. Let ourselves. We have to set examples. We have to set our examples for the young people. Set ourselves as examples. So I think the power of example is indisputable. It's beyond any dispute, as history has proven it. With this, we finish for the day, finish the program. Dr. Aly Shameem, thank you so much for having shared your insights and thoughts, and Dr. Ibrahim Zakariyya Musa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With this, we end the program. Thank you for watching.